another more existential issue for our pristine hill stations and tourist spots. This new year, you may have had a great party at a hill station, but what about the plastics and the garbage that's piled up after a tsunami of tourists at these hill stations? Who's going to clean them up and pay the price for the damage they cause? On your screens are pictures from Dharamsala, where the local workers are clearing up the plastics and garbage left behind, whether it's in the north, south, east or west. It's an issue that's often spoken about, but rarely do you find sustained action on the ground, except for some people. The still pictures you see are a mountain of garbage from the village of Sisu at one end of the famous Atal tunnel in the Pir Panjal range. This is from a few days ago and was posted on X by an IFS officer. Have we learnt our lessons this new year, or are we still a long way to go on that aspect? Joining me now is noted environmental activist Anup Nautiyal. Anup, really, in the plains and in the big cities, people talk about big tourism, big initiatives. Often the hill stations are victims of this rampant tourist activity that one sees.
All right, so thank you so much for having me on the show. A very, very happy new year to you. I believe we have very less time, so I'm going to, try and be very quick. I speak to you from Uttarakhand, and just to set the context, we are a state with a population of 1.25 to 1.3 crore people. 8 to 10 crore tourists and pilgrims visit our state on an annual basis. These are all estimated numbers. Now, imagine and assume that if a tourist or a pilgrim is spending 3 to 4 days in one stretch in Uttarakhand, what we are talking about is 30 to 40 crore tourist man days. At an estimated 500 grams of waste generation on a daily basis, we are looking at 20 crore kilogram of extra waste that a state like Uttarakhand has to handle. Now, how much of this is getting segregated, collected, transported, recycled, processed, of course, is left to one's imagination. We must also remember that as a state, we who are the people of Uttarakhand are generating on an average another 40 lakh kilogram of waste on a daily basis. So just to wrap up, 20 crore kilogram of waste being generated by tourists and pilgrims. A word of caution here. As I said, these are purely estimated numbers. Now, to come to your question and to look at solutions or answers. So this typical Sarkar, Samaj and Bazaar. So the government, businesses and citizens, these are the three prime stakeholders, and there is lots that can be done. For instance, when it comes to the government, the first of all, most important thing is, and there are various reports, there is various evidence in terms of regulating tourism and in terms of promoting responsible tourism. Now, there is a lot of double speak when it comes, at state government level, while there is talk of, enforcing and this and that, but reality is totally different. We talk about carrying capacity norms, but I think, considering the kind of waste challenges that we are seeing, how do you build up your capacities in urban local bodies and panchayats? How does government invest in awareness? Invest in single-use plastic alternatives. So there is a whole laundry list. We also have examples of Sikkim that has banned, plastic bottles. We have good examples in Uttarakhand also of deposit refund system, which is working in Kedarnath. We have Assam now, which is, banned small plastic bottles. We have self-help groups in Himachal, but all of these need to be scaled up 10x, 20x time. Then, of course, businesses. So I know we don't have time, but there's something called extended producer responsibility.
No, but Anup, this is not an issue that's restricted just to the Himalayas. We've seen this in the Western Ghats here, in the south as well. My question to you, and yes, we're running out of time, but I still have time for one quick final question to you. Do you believe there needs to be a restriction on the number of tourists we allow into the hill stations? And I'm speaking from the point of view of those living in hill stations, because it's just exponential, the number of people who are attending now, and simply can't take that kind of load.
My answer is simple and straightforward. I think that, without a doubt, without an iota of doubt, there is an acute need to restrict the numbers, to regulate tourism. And in fact, there are reports from the Niti Aayog. There are various reports from the central government itself. But as I said, the reality is totally different. And there is a mad race. There is an absolutely insane race when it comes to state government level. They are hell-bent on establishing and creating new records. So I think somebody somewhere has to understand this If I talk about the Chardham Yatra of 2023, the state government of Uttarakhand is tom-tomming that, we've set a new record. As far as I'm concerned, this is a very, very immature approach. We need to put brakes on this. There is an acute need, to follow religiously, sincerely, scientifically carrying capacity norms and build a model of tourism which is sustainable, which is resilient, and which is in sync with the realities, not only of the Himalayas, but of the Western Ghats, because, net, we are all sinking in mounds of waste and litter.
And if we can't, we'll just have to tell the tourists to make sure that they take the garbage back and behave more responsibly up there. But thanks so much, Anup, for that note at the start of the new year, a strong, aggressive note for environmental activism in the hills and protecting them. That's all we have time for on the Southern View this evening. The news continues here on NDTV.